Hey everybody on YouTube. So today I'm going to be doing an unboxing of the Anet A8 3D printer. This printer was sent to me by Gearbest for an unboxing and a review. I did not purchase this printer myself. It was sent as a gift, and I figured I would do an unboxing and a review and give my honest opinion. There will also be a build video. I don't know how relevant that is, as there's already hundreds of build videos of this printer out there. I will be doing something a little bit different in my build video. I'll get to that at the end of this unboxing. So let's begin. I'll do my best to be unbiased, but if I'm going to be biased at all, it'll probably be against the printer, not for it, because I'm kind of a little biased against acrylic frame printers. I've put one together before and I wasn't impressed with it at all. So here we got some of the major acrylic components, two of our frame pieces that go on either side of our bed. We have a spool holder here. You can always use one more of those. Another piece of acrylic, I'm not sure what it's for. I've never owned one of these printers before, so this is a new experience for me. I'd like to share it with all of you. Another piece of acrylic here that I say that's for the spool holder as well. And I'd say I have a couple of pieces of acrylic here that are for the frame. We have the main board here. That's a nice little package. Look at this, the A8-2004. Okay, so it's got one stepper motor connection for extruder motor. So unless I want to change out the board on this, I won't be doing dual filament or anything like that. My only experience with acrylic printers was a much smaller i3 knockoff than this, and it was from Folgertech, and it was garbage. Everything about it was inferior. It had smaller stepper motors. They overheated, and the acrylic just would crack from looking at it. So here we have the display. So it's just your standard. It's the 2004, but it's the version without the micro SD card slot, because that would be on this main board. So if I wanted to replace this with ramps, I'd have to either look at replacing the LCD or get an add-on micro SD card board, which I do have a few of already. Okay, so let's set that aside. We'll continue on here. So we have a fan and a heatsink. So this are part of the assembly for our hot end. We got a micro SD card and a thumb drive. Hopefully all our build instructions are on here. We've got some belt, and we have a fairly long USB cable to connect it up to a PC. I don't use those very often. I don't print from the PC. Okay, second level. What do we have in here? So we have some power. We have a power cable here, which I'm probably going to chuck. because one of the first upgrades this board is going to get is an on-off switch with a 20 amp fuse, which I have already. So this will probably get chucked. So set that aside. We have an aluminum bed plate here instead of acrylic. It's pretty neat, but it looks a little flimsy. Set that there. We have our heated bed. And it's got this connector on here. That's neat. I like that. It's usually when they're soldered on here, after a while, if you're not careful, if you don't think ahead of time and reinforce it, they break off. So that's pretty neat. This tape will have to come off. So there's our heated bed. So 6 pins. So I'm sure 2 pins for the power to the bed, 2 pins for the thermistor, and 2 pins for the LED. Okay, some little clippers. I have a pair of red ones like these. They're really nice. They come in handy. They cut the filament really good. Better than a pair of wire snips or something like that. So those will come in handy. I'll always use another one of those. Cable for our heated bed. A little bag of tools, a small screwdriver, some Allen keys, and a wrench. And another Phillips head screwdriver right there. We have our end stops. 3 end stops here and a handful of standoffs. We have all our screws, nuts, and bolts in here. The bags are all labeled individually what's in them, but there is a mix of items in some of these bags. So, at least they took their time to separate most of it out. If anybody on here has ever purchased the Tron XY-X3, you'll know that everything is just in the bag together. Nothing is separated out. From the smallest screw to the largest screw, to the washers, to the nuts, they're all in the bag together. So you end up playing a small guessing game there. This is a little step up from that. What do we have here? We have our wires for our stepper motors. They're all labeled, so your Z, your X, your Y, and your extruder, so they're all labeled. We have some sample PLA that will probably go right in the garbage. Some more acrylic pieces, and this one looks like it's the hold the Y-axis belt in the front. Again, I've never put one of these together before. This is the first time I've had my hands on one, so but that's what that looks like that is, and I'll get into it a little bit later, but this is going to be upgraded as well. I'll stop for a minute and just let everybody know, when I was informed that I would be getting this free gift, the first thing I did is I looked up some videos on the printer, not build guides or unboxings, but I looked up some videos and some information on the printer on what are the best upgrades for this printer. What can you do to make this printer a better printer? So I did all that research, and then between the time of doing that research and this unboxing, my CR10 and my X3 have been busy printing all the necessary upgrades that I felt were necessary for this printer. So, and they're still printing away as I'm doing this video. So we have some linear bearings here. 5, 6, 7 linear bearings. Set them down in the front. So level 2 is empty. Let's move on to the third tray. So what do we got here? Let's start in the corner here. We have our extruder. Oh no, sorry. we have our hot end. So that is all fully assembled. So I was wrong. This is all fully assembled and ready to go. So that makes me wonder, and I'll find out later on when I get further into when I actually start building this thing. It makes me wonder what these things are for. Maybe it's for the motherboard. I'm not sure. No. This is for this. This is a fan, and then the other fan for the filament. It's got to be. Yeah, it's got to be. Okay. So there's our hot end assembly, right there. We got a nice beefy motor on there for the extruder. That's a lot heavier duty than the one I had on the Folgertech i3. But I'm looking in here and I'm seeing stepper motors, and I'm noticing that these aren't very beefy. These are quite small. You can't. I don't know if you can see this. If you can compare them. No, they're close, the same size. But these are a lot smaller than what I'm used to. I usually buy 42. The stepper motors I buy are usually 42 millimeter, and they do like 68 ounce torque. Okay, so we have, it doesn't matter which one, but this one is labeled X-axis, and it's got the a geared pulley on it. This one is our Y-axis. It's got the Y-axis geared pulley on it as well. We got our blower fan for our filament. Keeps our filament cool. We have our assembly pieces to hold up our X-axis. All assembled already. It's pretty neat. And they're injection molded. They are injection molded, but there are improvements that can be made on these. I wish they came out of the box like that, considering they're injection molded, but one improvement would be to have belt tensioning here for the belt that's going to go through there. But, I like that these are injection molded. Okay, so there's our two end pieces for the X-axis gantry right there. So we have our last two stepper motors for our Z-axis with the couplers already in place right there. These can be improved upon. There are much better couplers online that a person can purchase for $5 or $6 that don't have the wobble that these have. But unfortunately I don't have any of those here right now because I haven't had any issues with my other printers with anything like that. So hopefully I don't have anything like that with this one. We've got a bag of wire wrap here. I've got all kinds of that already, so if this isn't enough, that shouldn't be a problem. We've got a lot of acrylic pieces in here. We got our threaded rods. We have our threaded rods for our Z-axis, and then our threaded rods to hold the lower frame assembly together in here. So I'll take those out when I go to do the build. There's no need to take them out now. And then we have a bunch of smooth rods here as part of our frame assembly. So, and our X-axis gantry. So let's look here. We got lots of acrylic in here. We got the front plate, center plate, we've got the top plate, Again, I'm not a big fan of acrylic printers. There's so many better ways to make a printer, and it's just as cost effective and far less complicated, especially if you're using like something like 2020 open build or something like that. So lots of acrylic pieces in here. Lots of acrylic pieces. And then, last but not least, our power supply. So let's take this out and take a look at it. The last 3D printer I unboxed, I had a big dent in my power supply. 20 amp, set for 220, so we'll fix that right now since I'm in North America. And no dents, it's in pretty good shape. Okay, so let's clear this box out of the way and lay everything out. So there's everything that was in the box. Quick side note here, I did find the little shroud that goes on the blower fan. It was in the box sitting free in the styrofoam, and it is practically the same color as the styrofoam. So if it wasn't for the fact that I was putting stuff back in the box, getting prepared for my build, I would have overlooked this altogether. But no, we do have a little fan shroud in the box. Okay, so that's my unboxing of the Anet A8 3D printer, which I received from Gearbest as a complimentary gift. I didn't find any issues in the box. Everything seems to be here. There was nothing damaged. Hardware wise, we'll find out when I get to the build, but I can't see anything missing. Everything looks like it's in good shape, and it should be a fun and interesting build. But there's going to be something a little bit different about it. As I said, knowing that I was getting this, I went and did my research and looked up all the different interesting upgrades that one can do. And as I said, the first upgrade it's going to have is just going to have an on and off switch with a 20 amp fuse connected to this power supply that I can plug into, turn off and on. So that's the first upgrade it's going to get right off the bat when I assemble everything. And another thing that's going to be unusual about this build is I'm not going to be building the printer, testing it out and seeing how it works, and then add on the upgrades. The upgrades are going to be all put in as I do the build. So basically it's going to be a one-shot thing. I'm going to build the printer, assemble it, and as I assemble it, I'm going to do all the upgrades that I think will make this printer that much better. Now that everything's out of the box, here we have a nice shot of everything, all the components for the printer, with the main board and the LCD out, the power supply, stepper motors, hot end and extruder assembly, the acrylic pieces, the heated bed. So stay tuned for the build video. I'm going to do something a little different there. In my past build videos, I built the printer to the kit, tested it out, and over time made a few upgrades here and there. This printer, however, I'm going to take a different approach. As I mentioned, 75% of the upgrades that I want to do printed out. So here are some of them here, and these are going to be part of the build video itself. So the build video is going to include all the upgrades I want to put into the printer minus one, and that's a MOSFET I'm waiting on. And so if you see here, I've got a nice case printed out for the printer already. If you look inside here, we got a place for the board, and we have a place for two MOSFETs. I do have one on order for the printer, and as soon as it gets in, I intend to reroute power for the heated bed through the MOSFET. It'll be a nice safety precaution. These components were all printed out on my CR10 and my Tron XY-X3. So we get this nice case for the circuit board. I have to print the bottom shroud for the power supply. I already have the plug with the 20 amp fuse, so this can be plugged in and unplugged, and it can have an on-off power to it. I have two components of this printed. The other one is in the other room right now, but this is the rear brace support for the frame, and there's a front brace support for the frame. So what that does is, for the front one, it's going to keep this from bowing over time as the belts stretch and pull. And this one's going to go between the two back pieces and keep those from bowing. And there's a spot right here to make sure we're not interfering with our Y stepper motor. So I've got two of those printed. This case also supports an 80mm fan, and I thought I'd go orange and black here, a little bit of orange, not too much, just to change it up a little bit. So there's going to be a fan there to keep the electronics cool. I printed two for some reason. These X-carriage injection molded parts, I really wish they were a different color. I wish they were black. And it's a shame that they're injection molded, because I will be replacing them. I've already printed off the replacement components for them, and one major reason for the replacements is on this, on the right side of the printer, this piece here, its replacement here is going to have a belt tensioning option here, which this one does not. So replacements for those. I have belt tensioning in here for the front X-axis. Sorry, the Y. I have components printed in here for tensioning the Y-axis belt. I have all the chains links printed out for all the cable guides. I got a couple of upper frame braces to keep the upper frame from wobbling. A little button here to make it easier to press down on the extruder release. And a bunch of other accessories here that are 3D printed that I'll go into when I get into the build of the printer. So as I said, I spent a couple of days looking around, doing some research, seeing what upgrades there are out there to make this printer more aesthetically pleasing and more functionally viable. So I printed all the ones I've printed, and I'm still printing all the ones I think are necessary. Run me almost a roll of PLA, so another $20–25 worth of plastic here, and another $12 for a good MOSFET that I have coming in. And that MOSFET that I have coming in is rated up to 30 amp. Also too, the little plug, the power plug here with the 20 amp fuse will run you about $2 on AliExpress. So I'm looking at $25, $35, $40 Canadian. So $30 US. Upgrades that I'm going to do right away on this printer. Some of them are needed, some of them are more aesthetic than anything else. It is a budget printer. It can be picked up online in a lot of places for anywhere from $170 to $180 depending on where you live. I believe recording this video, Gearbest has the printer on flash sale for $159.99 US. I'm not sure of the shipping in various regions. I know to Canada the shipping was $30 US, so it brings up to $190 US, which now gets it close to the price point of something like the Tron XY-X3 if you were to buy that on AliExpress. You can pick that printer up for about $200 US, free shipping. And as I said, I'm more partial to the all metal frames. but we're not going to knock it yet. We're going to assemble this thing. I think a lot of the fun in 3D printing, especially kits, is putting it together and learning something new, and this will be something new to me. So stay tuned for the build video, and thanks for watching my unboxing.